Greetings. Today we're going to be discussing what makes Jesus happy. Jesus is the creator. We should be interested in knowing what makes the creator Jesus happy. Jesus has a super happy plan for his favorite city, Jerusalem. In Isaiah 65:18, be glad, says Jesus, and rejoice forever. Those are pretty strong words. This is Jesus saying, here's how I want you to feel in what I create, what I am doing, says Jesus. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing. I'm going to create the city of Jerusalem as a fantastic rejoicing place, and her people a joy. Right now, that's not the case. Jesus is telling all believers he wants them to feel this way about his future plans for remaking Jerusalem. Verse 19, I, Jesus, will rejoice. So he's telling, first he told us how he wants us to feel about what he's doing. Now he's saying, I myself will rejoice in Jerusalem when it's done the way he wants it done, and I will joy in my people. He's going to be excited and proud of his people. For the voice of weeping shall no longer be heard in her, and nor the voice of crying. You know, there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of crying, there's a lot of upset people, young people die, drug overdoses, whatever it may be. That's going to change. Jerusalem nowadays is in threat of total annihilation, being driven into the sea. Its enemies are all around us, and they want to crush and destroy Israel and get rid of it. Verse 21, they shall build houses. This is God's people in Jerusalem. Shall build houses and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and eat their fruit. Now, the way people tell me, it takes like about 4 years from the time you plant a vineyard to you be at fruit sufficient enough that where you can use the fruit and start enjoying the fruit. So at least 4 years worth of industry, preparing the vineyard, grooming it, watching over it, and then enjoying the fruit. So peace, prosperity, safety is his future plan for Jerusalem, so totally different from the way it is now. Verse 22, they shall not build and another inhabit. They're not going to be set up and they build their city or they build their houses and some other tribe comes rushing in and kills everybody and they inhabit the buildings that were built. They shall not plant and another eat the fruit. And as the days of a tree, what does that mean? So shall the days of my people. The days of a tree, long, if you don't chop down young trees, they end up being large, huge trees that have been there for decades and decades and decades. So he's saying, my people are going to enjoy growing old and developing good, happy lives and living in abundance. Verse 23, they shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth children for trouble. In that future time, the young people won't be troublemakers, as we can see on TV today around the world. Verse 24, it shall come to pass that before they call out to God, I, Jesus, will answer them. It's like they go, well, I think I should pray to God. Oh, here I am, right? And while they're still speaking, I will hear. Jesus plans to be very active and helping them on a day-to-day basis with their problems. In verse 25, he talks about the animals. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together. Then here's a shocker. The lion shall eat straw like an ox. The lion's going to eat grass like cows do. Can you picture this? You walk through a field and you come up on a cow. He's eating grass. In most cases, he doesn't care about you or what you're doing, right? Can you picture a future time when you walk through a field and there's a big lion eating grass? And he turns and he looks at you like ho-hum, turns back and keeps on eating. That's going to be a different world. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain. And the holy governmental system will be built up from the Jerusalem city and then spread out around the world. So wild animals will be changed by Creator Jesus. Now we can say, well, that's impossible now. Yeah, it's impossible for humans to do that. But Jesus created lions in the first place, and he can change them anytime he wants, and he will plan to do that in the future. Jesus is active every day of our lives, trying to help more and more people join in with this happiness program that he's trying to give to people. Luke 19:10, Jesus says this, "For the Son of Man," talking about himself, "has come to seek and to save that which is lost." That's what he said 2,000 years ago, but he's doing the same plan today. He's seeking to save those who are lost and going in a different direction, a direction of darkness, of sadness, of unhappiness. Jesus wants people to commit to living the Jesus lifestyle. You read the New Testament, you see what Jesus says, this is how you should live, and then you make an effort with God's help to live that way. Jesus shows how there is great rejoicing and happiness in heaven, amongst the angels in heaven, and God the Father and Jesus, every time a person commits to learning and following the Jesus happiness way using the Jesus words. Right? A lot of people, they want to go to heaven, they think that's the Jesus plan, but they don't really want to focus on the words Jesus teaches and do the things Jesus teaches. Luke 15:6. When he comes home, he calls his friends and neighbors, saying to them, "Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep." He gave this parable. In fact, he gives 3 parables all in a row. And this one is of the shepherd who had 100 sheep. One of them gets lost, and he counts the 99. He says, "Oh no, I've lost the sheep." And he goes searching for the sheep, and he finally finds it and brings it back. And then he says to his neighbors and his friends, "Rejoice with me, let's have a big party, because I lost the sheep, I found the sheep, everything is back to normal. Let's have a party, let's have a big barbecue meal." Jesus follows that up in verse 7, and he says, "I say to you," here's the message Jesus is giving us from that particular sheep parable, "likewise there is more joy in heaven over one sinner," just one person, one sinner who repents, who turns around towards doing the will of God. Okay, next we come to Jesus' parable about the silver coin lady. In verse 9 of Luke 15, when she found that lost the silver coin, she had 10 silver coins, she lost one, it fell under the couch or whatever, and she searches the house until she finds it, and then she calls her friends and neighbors. This is not just, call the neighbor next door or something. This is get people together for a party, and says, "Rejoice with me, for I have found the piece, the lost silver coin that was lost." Then Jesus adds in on verse 10, "Likewise," says Jesus, "I say to you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over just one sinner who repents, who turns around." Jesus continues with the prodigal son parable, right, which is the third one, saying pretty much the same thing, that the heavenly beings are very happy when people make a commitment to go the best way possible, and that's the way of Jesus' teaching. So Jesus gives the prodigal son, and the younger son leaves the father, and he spends his inheritance on wasteful living. In Luke 15:13, not many days after, the young son gathered all together and journeyed to a far country, and there he wasted his possessions with prodigal living. That's how you get the term prodigal son. Verse 22, Jesus tells us how the son comes back after some terrible living, terrible times, suffering. Verse 22, and then the father said to the servants, "Bring out the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet." He was barefoot, right? Cutting his feet, walking down the road. Verse 23, "Bring out the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and be merry." Have a big barbecue meal with lots of wine and enjoy and rejoice. "For my son was dead and is alive again, and he was lost and is found." And they began to be merry, the happy. So Jesus gives this story and the 2 parables before it to show how he and the Father in heaven feel about those who come back to godly living, or begin to say, "I'm not happy with the way I'm living my life now, I want a better way," and then they start searching amongst God's teachings, the New Testament, on how to live a happy life, add happiness in this life, and then super happiness in the next life. Jesus and his Father are sad, very sad, angry even, about the way humans hurt each other and kill masses of people in war after war after war, We have the United Nations that was founded to stop having wars amongst nations. Well, how are they doing? They're not doing well. There are still wars and people are still dying left, right, and center. Most humans hate animal abuse. Think about that. You see animals, dogs, cats, whatever, and they're abused. Horses, they're abused. They're malnourished. They're left out in the weather. We hate animal abuse. God does too. God hates that. He hates a lot of the things we do down here on planet Earth. Most people hate elder abuse. You have an old mother, grandfather, parents, whatever, and they get abused. We hate that. Well, God does too. Most people hate child abuse. Children are wonderful. We need to be taking care of them and nurturing them. And those who are abusing children, that's a horrible thing. We hate that. God hates that. So we're not all that different from what God wants. God is angry at the mess many humans have created here on earth. Look around you, watch the news. And soon he will stop the madness with the Battle of Armageddon, which puts an end to one world ruling government and humans pleasing themselves or serving the great leader. Then we'll all go back to God's happiness plans for 1,000 years, millennium of peace and happiness. God will prevent war amongst humans. If he can change lions to eating grass, he can prevent war amongst humans. Jesus uses the happy word 50 times in the New Testament, but most Bible readers never see it. Why is that? They can see 3 times out of the 50, but not all the rest. The next 3 verses use the Greek word, Strong's number 3107, and we see the translators actually give us the happy word, which they should have. Acts 26:2. I think myself happy, King Agrippa, because today I will answer for myself before you. So happy, that's the happy word. That's where it should be. Romans 14:22. Happy is he who does not condemn himself in what he approves. And the third one, 1 Corinthians 7:40. And she is happier if she remains as she is. So those are the 3 places where the happy word is used by Jesus, and it gets translated into happy, and we understand happy. We've lived our lives, we've seen happy, we've experienced happy. We know what happy is. When we read happy in the Bible, we don't have to need anybody to explain what happy is. Happy is happy, right? So where are the other 47 references to God talking about happiness? Here are some of them. Matthew 5:3, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Verse 4, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. 5, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. 6, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Okay, the Greek definition for this 3107 word is supremely blessed, or fortunate, or well off, or in today's language, happy. The translators saw this word in the Greek when they translated it into English. For whatever reason, I don't know, they translated the happy word 47 times as blessed or blessed. And most kids, most teenagers, if you say blessed to a teenager, they look at you thinking, what planet are you from, right? You say happy, they completely understand. They've done happy, they know happy, they've lived happy. Happy is not a puzzle to them. Happy is something they completely understand. And so we ask, what is Jesus actually saying? All right, we go back, Matthew 5:3. He's saying, happy are the poor in spirit. Happy are the merciful people. Happy are the pure in heart. Happy are the peacemakers. Most humans, like I say, have experienced happiness in some form or other. So you don't really have to say, now let me tell you what happiness is, because people have lived it. Jesus wants to help people, all people, have more happiness in this physical life. Most people are struggling with their physical life. He wants you to have more happiness now, but in the future, he wants us to have super happiness, abundant happiness in the life after we die and move into the next realm. John 10:10. Jesus says, I have come that they might have life, meaning vigorous, happy life, and that they may have it more abundantly. Jesus created life. Jesus created happiness. Jesus created beauty. Jesus created all the fabulous things we see around us when we take time to look at them. And he's saying, I want humans to have more of that. Jesus has created humans so they can progress towards super happy living with Jesus in the kingdom of God forever and ever. Jesus is offering happiness forever, but he allows humans and lets us accept his terms and guidance or reject it. He allows us to reject his offer. Those who reject it end up dead forever. In the Bible, you'll see the term, especially in Revelation, a couple other places, the second death. Most people know what the first death is. They're not sure what the second death is, but the second death is you've given opportunity and opportunity and opportunity to accept Jesus and his way of happiness, or you reject it. And then you try to attack God's wonderful city of Jerusalem, and you end up another battle of Armageddon, only this time it's just fire comes down from heaven. It kills all the enemies and rebellious people, and they stay dead forever. They never have any more life after that, and they never have any more happiness after that. So the blessed, happiest choice that there is for humans to make is to go the Jesus way and to live in great happiness forever.